What you guys know about NIO, man? In today's video, we're going to be covering NIO stock. We're going to be doing a quick price analysis, give you guys some price targets, and talk about some of the big news ahead as we have NIO Day coming up. You see it, baby? We have NIO Day coming up. So we're going to talk about some of the aspects of that, what to expect, and how this can affect the stock price. Before I get started, smash that like, hit that subscribe. So let's jump into the screen right behind me here. Now, with this big catalyst ahead, I'm really liking where the stock is positioned right now. Of course, the biggest thing in question is the future of the economy and the U.S. economy in particular, because NIO does like to follow along with it. But just make sure you're keeping tabs on the Chinese market and policy as well, because I have seen that affect NIO separately. Now, the big thing coming up ahead here is that NIO Day, man. I am so pumped. NIO Day, feel the light. This is kind of what they're highlighting for the event. Now, this will be taking place on December 24th in Hefei, China. I think I pronounced that right. That is where NIO Day will be held. So there's a lot of expectations for NIO Day. We'll cover that quickly here and then dive into the price. Now, just remember, guys, when you're doing technical analysis on your stock, you want to keep the news in mind here. This is why we're highlighting NIO Day, because it can have a good effect on it, right? We could see a run up prior to NIO Day where we could capitalize on some quick scalps, quick price movement, and then we could sell the news, right? Buy the hype, sell the news. So we can buy in as it's running up, and then prior to NIO Day, we can look to sell. So like I said, NIO will be holding their infamous NIO Day. Now, typically on this day, it's towards the end of the year, each and every year, and they'll unveil typically new products. So it's kind of like a big day for them. It's similar to Tesla Day. Now, NIO, if you're not familiar, they're kind of like the Tesla of China. So in the past, I used to cover them a lot on my YouTube channel. I don't as much anymore, but I'm not going away, baby. I love NIO. All right. I'm personally invested in this company. I think they have a great outlook. You just have to be careful because they're not as secure, in my opinion, as a lot of US companies, just because China and the CCP kind of have their own policies with their own markets, and it can have an effect on NIO. Now, NIO's been doing great. They've been having great strides. They have a young CEO. He's a billionaire. I think he's in his 30s or 40s. He's absolutely killing it. Now, let's talk about what is expected on this day real quick. So like I said, it is expected that 5 models will be released by NIO, including the switch of the ES8, ES6, and EC6 to the NT 2.0 platform, as well as 2 other new models. Last month, some spy photos showed that NIO might be testing the ET5 shooting brake version. Previously, spy photos of the EC7 as well as the new ES8. So one thing to keep in mind too, since a lot of these are speculated already to be released, the market might have already priced that in. So it won't be as much of a surprise if we do see these come out. So the market reaction may already be priced in. You need to keep that in mind just in case. But it is still pretty exciting for the company as a whole. So let's take a look at some of these spy photos. So here is the ET5 shooting brake revealed. It's not really revealed, but you can see they were pretty smart about it when they were out testing it, right? They put some ghetto covers on it, but here's kind of the concept vehicle of it, okay? And then you also have the EC7 that was spotted. Looks like more of the SUV version. Pretty cool here. And then the ES8 with LiDAR, which is pretty cool. And you can see that LiDAR sensor actually right at the top of the head there. LiDAR is pretty cool. That's actually a big innovation that we don't really have with our EVs here in the States, okay? LiDAR is light radar. So LiDAR is more for autonomous driving. It's highly technical, highly smart. And I think that's why not a lot of our cars here are included with it, or it's not at least fully used as capability, because there's not really a need, okay? I would expect a country like the United States to have a little bit more rigor when it comes to implementing autonomous driving, just because of all the policies it has to go through. But China, on the other hand, is very aggressive. And make sure you keep in mind as well that China does have a strong EV initiative, right? They want to go full green by 2035. China's pretty strict on their policies, and they want NIO to be one of the front runners in this. Because of that, they are government subsidized. So if you are an investor in NIO, I'd expect some good security there with your investment. There's not really any way they can go bankrupt, right? So this is a good, safe bet. Not financial advice, but I do like NIO, particularly for the government subsidized part of it. Now let's dive into the chart. But before we do that, we need to quick cover some market catalysts that are at least in the near future here. Whether you watch this video a week or 2 from now, all of this will still be applicable, but we need to keep this in mind. So in the United States, we do have inflation data coming out as the making of this video tomorrow. Okay, last time it came in at 7.7%. We're expecting 7.3. Hopefully it comes down. And then the day after, we have the FOMC meeting where they're going to announce the rate hikes from the Federal Reserve, right? So we're looking for a 50 basis point hike, but it really depends on how CPI comes out. It could end up being 75. Some things to keep in mind, because this will affect the US economy and ultimately the US stock market, which will ultimately affect NIO in some way or fashion. So let's dive into the charts, man. Okay, here's NIO. Let's talk about the price targets and do a quick price analysis. So here's NIO on the higher time frame. This is the daily chart. One thing I want to note right off the bat is this ginormous wedge that NIO's been sitting in. the entire year, actually a little bit longer than that. It's been sitting in this wedge since January of last year, so almost 2 full years now. NIO's been sitting in this huge wedge, and you can see it's highly discounted, right? I started talking about NIO on this channel back when it was like 29, 30 bucks 2 years ago, and now we're sitting at about 12.5 bucks here, which is pretty cheap, right? Relative to all-time lows and all-time highs, right? It's super cheap right now. Can it go any lower? Of course it can, but how much lower? I wouldn't think that much lower, just because of supply and demand, right? This company is fundamentally worth more than $12.5 per share as well. So keep that in mind. You do have fundamentals to hold you up. I do like NIO here. Now I have a buddy who's heavily invested in this, and we've been talking about NIO for some time now. Now, one thing he called out to me was this potential bear flag pattern. Now, we don't want to see this because it's bearish, right? Unless you want to short the stock. But this bear flag pattern, now, is this valid? Who really knows? It looks like it has potential to be, but one thing I told him to keep in mind is how oversold NIO is. Now, if this is a bear flag, there's going to be your flagpole, and typically the size of a bear flag move or a breakout is going to be the length of that flagpole, which puts NIO right at like 60 cents. That's why I kind of invalidate this bear flag as well. I think it is valid to note that it is trading in a channel here though, right? So we do have this tight channel on NIO, and I think very, very short term, here's one thing I'd keep your eyes on as well. Going back to the patterns here is this head and shoulders pattern. So this is a reversal pattern. You know, not the best thing again if you're looking to go long, but this is more short term. Quick little tidbit with these head and shoulders patterns, if this is here. So you have the neckline of your head and shoulders. There's your shoulders on the outside, your head on the top. Typically when you see this, the length of the move, you're going to take the top of that head and you're going to come right down to the neckline right about here. Okay, the size of that move, duplicate that, and then boom, come right down to your neckline, and that's the projected size of the move, which makes sense, right? And it lands at this prior support area or demand zone, so it makes sense that price could gravitate that way. If that's the case, NIO puts us at a price target of about $10 here right on the bottom. Let's clean that up. $10. Okay, so $10 is going to be, you know, for the next 2 weeks out. $10 is a floor I really want to keep my eyes on. Now, that could be a nice price target if you're looking to maybe average into this for the long term, or simply just trying to short this on the way down, or again, maybe just buy it and look for a bounce near at the bottom there. So $10 is an area of interest. Let's first see if price can carry down there, wait for it to maybe consolidate and see if we can find a bounce if that happens, or it could sell further back down. But I like $10 for the very, you know, short term, you know, more swing price target here. Now let's talk about the upside, right? Let's talk about some good news. Now for the upside, you can see our more recent high is right here. Okay, that puts us at about $14.34. We need to clear $14.34 before we're even in a different conversation about NIO creeping up further up here. Now let's keep in mind that channel that we were in, right? We talked about the potential bear flag, or at least kind of this ascending channel here. Now if we do clear this high here, that's right outside of this range here. So if we clear that high, I would expect a lot more momentum to carry us much further here. And the next area of interest I'm going to have for NIO for price to the upside, again, if we clear that like $14.36 price, I'm going to be looking at the next high here at about $14.53, and there's actually a gap that's right here, a nice fair value gap, which price likes to gravitate towards. I think we easily accelerate past that if we do clear this prior high here, again, that $14.36. You're going to watch $14.53 as that stop on the way up. I think we cleared through this gap real easily, and then ultimately I like this price target here at about $16.88. Let's round it up to $17 because the market likes nice whole clean numbers, especially NIO. So $17 is going to be our upward price target ultimately. And make sure when you're watching it along the way, you go back and rewatch this video and you note those key levels we talked about on the way up and note why as well. And then on the way down, $10 is a level as well. So right now, my current range is in between $17 and $10 for NIO. If you want to follow along day by day, all you got to do is check out that link down below in my description, guys, and join my private Discord channel. With that, guys, leave me a like and a follow so you can catch more NIO videos and also weekly live streams as well. I'll see you in the next video.